All right, so you want to know about Guy Ritchie, right? And you send over this Wikipedia article. Looks like a good starting point, yeah. So let's deep dive into this British director. I think we need to go deeper than those British gangster film headlines, don't you think?
Yeah, I think we can definitely uncover some interesting stuff. There's some real highs and lows in his career.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's start with like his early life. Not exactly, the typical Hollywood story, is it? Expelled from school at 15. I mean,
Wow.
his parents must have been thrilled.
Uh-huh, yeah. Not your typical film school kind of guy, right? It does make you wonder though, right? If like those early experiences, shaped his style all those years outside of the classroom. Maybe that's where he developed that knack for capturing those rough around the edges characters. You know what I
Makes
mean?
sense. I mean, he wasn't exactly rubbing elbows with the Hollywood elite back then. Okay. But then fast forward a bit, 1998. Lock, stock, and two smoking barrels. Boom. He explodes onto the scene.
Yeah, what an impact.
Jason Statham's career takes off. British gangster flicks are suddenly cool again. What a film.
Huge hit. Really felt like lightning in a bottle, you
Well,
know? The pacing, the dialogue, the way he plays with timelines. So fresh, so unexpected. I mean, Lock, Stock became a cult classic, like overnight.
and who could forget that scene? The
Yeah.
one Empire magazine even included it in their list of the 100 best British films,
Yeah.
where that certain adult toy
Oh, right.
becomes, shall we say, an unconventional weapon. That's so Richie.
Oh yeah, pure Rishi. Haha. It
Yeah.
really shows that dark humor he's known for. But even with all the praise, I mean, he was praised for his directing for sure, the writing in Lock, Stock. It got some mixed reviews.
Really
Yeah, some critics, they found it a bit, I don't know, too much, a little over the top.
interesting. So not everyone was on board. So then what happens?
Well, he kind of doubles down on that style with Snatch in 2000.
Not Snatch. More crime capers, bigger cast this time. Even got Brad Pitt on board. It felt like he was taking what worked in Lock, Stock and pushing it even further.
Oh yeah, Brad Pitt as Mickey O'Neill, that Irish boxer with that dialect that I mean nobody could understand a word he was saying. Pure gold.
Yeah. Snatch. It got a similar response to Lock, Stock, I think. Everyone loved the visuals, but some critics felt like the dialogue, I don't know, maybe it overshadowed the plot. Like it was super entertaining, but maybe lacked a little depth. Okay, so two films in, a pattern starts to emerge, right?
Mm.
We've got these bold visuals, really sharp dialogue, but maybe some questions about the substance underneath it all.
Yeah.
And then comes Swept Away.
Yeah.
This is where things take a bit of a turn.
Yeah, Swept Away, starring Madonna,
Like,
who was married to Richie at the time. It was a romantic comedy. And well, it really didn't land with audiences or critics.
yeah, not exactly a hit. 5 Golden Raspberry Awards. Ouch. Those are like the anti-Oscars for anyone who doesn't know. So he has 2 hits and then this big miss. What's going through his head at this point, do you think?
I mean, who knows, right? But it must have been tough. He did say later that, maybe making a film with your wife as the star isn't, the best idea. It's a pretty unique situation. And I mean, not totally surprising that it didn't quite work out.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Lesson learned, I guess.
Yeah.
But Richie, being Richie, he doesn't just, go back to doing what he knows. He releases Revolver in 2005. And this one is, well, different.
Revolver.
Mm.
It's a dense film, very philosophical. Ritchie himself called it esoteric, which is kind of code for, not everyone's going to get it.
Right.
Yeah, divided critics and audience. It still does. Some people see it as like this really fascinating exploration of themes like, I don't know, fate and free will, while others find it just convoluted and pretentious.
So, not exactly a crowd pleaser.
Mm.
Did he ever address the reaction to Revolver?
He did defend it, saying that it's a film that needs like multiple viewings,
Yeah.
that it rewards those who are willing to engage with its ideas. But I think you can sense some frustration there, like he feels a little misunderstood.
Yeah, I get that. All right, so we've got this string of choices. 2 big hits, a flop, and then this film that just divided everyone. What does Richie do next?
Well, he kind of goes back to familiar territory with Rock and Rolla in 2008, back to that gritty London crime world, those larger-than-life characters he's so good at. I think it felt like a return to form for him, like a reminder of what he does best.
And the response this time.
Much more positive. Critics loved the energy, the humor, the visual style. It was a commercial success too. Felt like he had like regained his footing, maybe even learned something from those detours.
So maybe
Yeah.
maybe he needed those experiments, maybe even those missteps to figure out what really worked for him.
Yeah, maybe. Like he took a detour, explored some different paths, and then came back to the main road with like a renewed sense of purpose.
I like that. All right, so back on track. Two hits early on. Romantic comedy, not so much. Revolver was a bit of a head scratcher. Then back in his groove with Rock and Rolla. What's next? He doesn't play it safe, does he?
No, not at all. In 2009, he takes on Sherlock Holmes. And not just any Sherlock Holmes. This is Robert Downey Jr. as a witty action hero detective.
Wow.
Huge risk and a massive departure from anything he'd done before. And it paid off big time. I mean, Sherlock Holmes was a global hit. Audiences loved it. Critics loved it. Everyone embraced this new take on Sherlock. It proved that Ritchie, could handle those big budget blockbusters. I mean, the film grossed over $500 million worldwide.
Yeah, it was huge. And the visuals, oh man, the visuals in that film were incredible. It felt like he took that same energy from his earlier stuff, those quick cuts, the kinetic energy.
Yeah.
But he brought it into this historical setting and with a polish and scale that he hadn't really done before.
It's true, and it's interesting, isn't it, to think about how his signature style, those rapid cuts, the slow motion, how it all translated so well into a totally different genre. He didn't abandon his style, but he adapted it,
Yeah.
to create something unique, something really visually stunning.
Yeah, and even, he even threw in some of those like bare knuckle boxing scenes that he loves so much. You can definitely see those connections back to films like Snatch.
Oh, absolutely. There's a thread there, right,
Yeah.
that runs through his work, a certain aesthetic, I guess, that carries through, even when he's jumping between all these different genres.
Okay, so Sherlock Holmes is this massive hit. Does he stick with that blockbuster formula for a while?
Well, he does direct a sequel, Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, in 2011, which was also very successful. But then he kind of switches gears again with The Man from UNCLE in 2015. That's a stylish spy thriller,
Yeah.
based on the old TV series.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Had that like cool retro vibe to it. Great cast too. Henry Cavill, Armie Hammer. They looked like they were, they walked straight out of a 60s spy film.
Yeah, it was fun. A really slick film, but it didn't, I don't know, it didn't quite connect with audiences on the same level as Sherlock Holmes. I mean, it made money, but it wasn't the mega hit that maybe some people were expecting.
So another interesting choice. It seems like he's always willing to take a risk, right?
Yeah.
Even after that blockbuster success, you never quite know what he's going to do next.
I think that unpredictability is part of his appeal, He's not content to just repeat himself. Even when he finds something that works, he's always got to be, challenging himself, trying to surprise the audience.
All right, so we've got this pattern emerging. Success with crime comedies, then stumbles with a romantic comedy, back on track with Rock and Rolla, then two huge Sherlock Holmes films, and then a stylish spy thriller that doesn't quite hit the mark. Where does he go from there?
Well, this is where it gets interesting. He tackles another big studio project, but this one takes him in a completely different direction. Disney's live-action Aladdin in 2019.
Aladdin. Whoa, okay. That's a wild left turn, even for him.
It was a bold move, and well, it paid off massively. I mean, Aladdin became a global phenomenon, grossed over $1 billion, became his highest grossing film ever. It might have seemed like a strange fit on paper, but Ritchie, he found a way to bring his own style, his energy to this classic story.
I'll admit I was skeptical at first, but he pulled it off. He kept the spirit of the original, but he added in his own touches, those fast-paced action sequences, the little winks to the camera.
He didn't try to reinvent the wheel, right? He just made it his own, and the casting was perfect. Will Smith as the genie.
Wow.
Oh man, he stole every scene.
Okay, so after all that experimentation, the ups and downs, he directs a $1 billion Disney movie. What's next? Does he stick with, the family-friendly stuff?
Not quite. In 2019, same year, he releases The Gentleman, a return to his, gritty London crime roots.
A Gentleman.
It's a sharp, stylish film, stellar cast, Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam, Hugh Grant.
It felt like a victory lap, like Ritchie was reminding everyone that like, hey, I can still make those sharp, witty crime films that you all love. Like he was back in his element, having fun, playing to his strengths.
And the critics agreed. The response was really positive. Everyone was praising the energy, the wit, the visual flair. It was a box office hit too,
Yeah.
Proved that he still had like a loyal audience, people who love his brand of, I don't know, cinematic mayhem.
So it's fascinating, right, to see how his career has gone. Those early hits that established his style, the experiments that led to some mixed results. But he never lost sight of what he does well. And then when you least expect it, boom, $1 billion Disney movie. It's been a roller coaster ride. But he's clearly learned a lot along the way.
He's a director who really defies categorizations, isn't he? He can make you laugh, he can make you think, he can, make your jaw drop with an action sequence.
Wow.
He's not afraid to take risks, and I think that's what keeps his work so fresh and exciting.
All right, so let's zoom out for a minute. We've talked about the individual films, the highs and lows, but what about the bigger picture? What are those recurring themes, those stylistic choices, those things that make a Guy Ritchie film like instantly recognizable?
Well, one of his trademarks, for sure, is his love of nonlinear storytelling. He often presents events out of order, jumping back and forth in time. It's like he's challenging the audience to piece together this puzzle.
Oh yeah, it's like he's playing a game with us,
Yeah.
daring us to keep up.
Exactly, and it creates this sense of suspense, this feeling that anything could happen. You never quite know where the story's going, which keeps you hooked. And then there's the visuals.
Oh yeah, the visuals, those fast cuts, the slow motion, the dramatic close-ups. It's like a roller coaster ride for your eyes.
He's a master of visual storytelling. I mean, he uses the camera like a paintbrush, creating these dynamic images that are both beautiful and unsettling. And he's not afraid to experiment, different techniques, lenses, different ways of capturing movement.
And the music, oh man, he always picks such great soundtracks. Classic rock, hip hop, electronica, always fits the mood perfectly. Just adds another layer of energy to his films.
His soundtracks they're like another character in the film, almost. Driving the action, heightening the emotion, adding a layer of coolness even to the most ordinary scenes.
And of course, we got to talk about the characters, right? Larger than life personalities, witty banter, questionable morals. It's like he's created his own cinematic universe populated by these lovable rogues and charismatic criminals.
His characters are always so memorable, even if they're not always, likable. They're flawed, they're complex, and they always have something interesting to say.
Ooh. And let's not forget that Cockney rhyming slang. It adds this layer of authenticity to those London-based films.
Yeah.
Creates this unique linguistic rhythm that's just instantly recognizable.
It's a subtle thing, but it adds so much flavor to the dialogue. It makes his films feel, I don't know, grounded in a specific place and culture, even when the stories are, wildly over the top.
So we've got the nonlinear storytelling, the visuals, the soundtracks, those memorable characters, that Cockney slang. It all adds up to create that signature Guy Ritchie style, a style that's both familiar and surprising. Blending those classic influences with modern sensibilities.
And it's a style that's always evolving. He's not afraid to try new things, to push those boundaries while still staying true to those core elements that make his work so distinctive.
He's one of the most interesting directors out there, working today.
Yeah.
Okay, but we've talked a lot about his films, his style, but there's another piece to this puzzle, right? The man himself. I mean, his personal life it's just as colorful as his films.
Yeah, his personal life is a fascinating story in itself. It's tempting to, try and connect the dots, see if any of those experiences have influenced his work,
Okay, so let's dive into that next. From those high-profile relationships to some surprising business ventures, there's a lot to unpack when it comes to Guy Ritchie, the man behind the camera. Okay, so we're back. We've talked about his films, from those early breakthroughs to those big budget blockbusters, even that Disney musical. But now let's talk about the man himself, right? Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, it's always interesting to think about, how a director's personal life might affect their work. And Ritchie's life has certainly been, well, it's been interesting. Lots of material there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a guy who went from directing these gritty London crime films to being married to Madonna, right?
Mm-hmm.
And navigating that whole world of Hollywood A-listers. I mean, talk about a whirlwind.
Yeah, it's quite a shift, isn't it? And you do have to wonder, how those experiences, did they shape his view on fame, fortune, all that comes with success? Something to think about.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because his films, they often deal with these themes of ambition, loyalty, betrayal, maybe there are some subconscious parallels there, some echoes of those real life dramas playing out on screen.
It's definitely possible. And even after, that high profile marriage and the divorce, he's continued to lead this pretty unconventional life. I mean, this is a director who owns a pub, runs a brewing company, even sells outdoor cooking equipment.
It's like he's got this boundless energy,
Yeah.
this need to always be creating, always be exploring. You don't really hear about Hollywood directors having these kinds of, I don't know, outside interests.
Yeah, it's true. Speaks to a certain, entrepreneurial spirit, maybe, a willingness to take risks, to step outside that comfort zone. And you have to wonder, does that same energy fuel his creativity? Maybe those side ventures are a way for him to recharge, to find inspiration in unexpected places.
Yeah, I like that. It's like he's constantly absorbing new experiences, new perspectives, and then channeling that all into his films.
Yeah.
That would explain why his work feels so eclectic, so unpredictable.
It's definitely not the typical Hollywood path, that's for sure. You don't see a lot of directors who are equally comfortable in the world of crime dramas and family friendly musicals.
And he's found success in both.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what's the connection? What ties all these seemingly different projects together?
Well, I think at the core of it all, Ritchie is a storyteller. He's drawn to these compelling characters, to unexpected twists, to moments of humor, moments of heart, no matter what genre he's working in.
Yeah, I think you're right. Whether it's a group of small time crooks trying to pull off a heist, or a street rat who ends up on this magical adventure, there's always that element of surprise, right? That sense that anything could happen.
Exactly. He keeps you guessing. He keeps you entertained, even when you think
Yeah.
you know what's coming next. And I think that's what makes him such a fascinating figure in cinema.
He's definitely carved out his own space. He's not afraid to be bold, to take those risks, or to follow his instincts, even if it means going against the grain.
And he hasn't slowed down. I mean, he's got a bunch of projects in the works right now, including a new action thriller and maybe even a sequel to The Gentleman.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like we can expect more surprises, more twists, and more of that signature Guy Ritchie style in the years to come.
Oh, absolutely. He's a director who's constantly evolving, constantly pushing the boundaries, and always keeps us guessing.
Yeah. All right, so there you have it. From those unconventional beginnings to the global success, we've taken a deep dive into Guy Ritchie. We've explored his films, his influences, and the man behind the camera. He's definitely more than just a British gangster film director. He's a true original, a visionary storyteller, and he's left this undeniable mark on cinema.
And we hope this deep dive has inspired you to revisit some of his films, to appreciate his style, and to maybe even ponder some of those lingering questions, right? What connects all those different films he's made? What drives that creative spirit of his, and what's he going to surprise us with next? We encourage you to explore those questions and draw your own conclusions.